One hero to solve all of our problems in Overwatch. Is it really that simple? If you told me just a few weeks ago that Blizzard had the means to create a character that could solve the multitude of issues that players report when it comes to the current meta, then I would have simply shook my head in disbelief. Now we have gotten a look at the latest addition to the roster, hero number 29, Ashe, and it seems like that idea is not too far-fetched anymore. Naturally, with no PTR update, it is really difficult to really confirm those assumptions. And even then, I would advise against making such bold claims before we have seen Ashe play out on the live servers in competitive play. However, we can still talk about her kit and the general idea of trying to fix the game via the addition of new characters rather than tweaking existing ones. Because naturally, this is not the first time Blizzard has attempted to do that, and it really seems like this is their preferred way of approaching this type of problem in general. I mean, Baguette was their answer to everyone's complaints about the dive meta, and we all know how that one turned out at the end. But obviously, the biggest difference between Baguette and Ashe is that one of them is mechanically demanding and the other one is not. So are we back in a Pharah versus Hitscan kind of scenario where, depending on which rank you play in, one of those heroes will always have an easier time playing against the other one? By the looks of it, I would say maybe. Because sure, while it seems like it's very easy to play Ashe wrong, there are also a few mechanics that make her a really good pick against a number of heroes whilst not requiring pinpoint accuracy. Imagine playing Widowmaker, but with you obviously not being a top 500 player, you wouldn't be raining headshots down on everyone all the time. That does not mean that you can't help your team win by getting frags when it really matters. When it comes to Ashe, one ability that makes her a very valuable part of your team is her coach gun. Where it looks like a very fun mobility tool, it is actually so much more than that, because the coach gun allows you to potentially vary your playstyle very substantially depending on the situation in front of you. The coach gun could almost put her eye to eye with heroes like Lucio and D.Va. What I'm talking about here is Ashe's ability to peel for her backline. Her gun allows her to do damage over range as well as close up without much issue at all if you are a good shot. That means you can use the coach gun to chase down your prey, or you use it to peel for your supports. If a Winston or a Genji or a Doomfist tries to get one of your supports, the coach gun is the perfect answer to keep yourself and your team alive. And it really doesn't look like it's based a whole lot on precision, much like Lucio's right click. But just like the Soundwave, it is a great way of ensuring your team's survival. If you think about a lot of these heroes that are likely to dive your backline, most of them only have one ability that allows them to either engage or disengage. D.Va's boosters, Winston's sleep, and Genji's dash. If you mess up their dive with the coach gun, then they are very easy targets. And don't forget that even Lucio can theoretically contest a Doomfist by messing up his combo with a boob. The problem is that Lucio kinda needs to be everywhere to maximize his value. That does not mean that going out of your way to counter a Doomfist is a bad idea. It just means that most players are not going to find that a very viable playstyle when they try to maximize the value of Lucio's kit. But Ashe on the other hand can remain perfectly viable both in the front line as well as the backline. She's like a Lucio with a Widow rifle that does not necessarily have to leave your Ana alone. If you can set your supports up for easy kills on dive heroes, then that is already a great advantage in a team fight. Especially if you run Ana and Zenyatta, the amount of healing and damage that you will have at your disposal during a team fight is gonna make a huge difference. And this is really where I see the value of Ashe as a hero. She's one of the very few DPS heroes that supports a defensive playstyle that's valuable to your backline. But at the same time, she can also push an advantage and adopt very aggressive playstyles, which makes me worry a little bit that she's going to dominate the ladder in high ranks where players would have the aim to make her gun work, the brains to smartly play around the reload mechanic, and the foresight to adapt their positioning according to the situation in front of them. When it comes to her role as the GOATS counter, I am yet to be convinced that she really has the means to annihilate that composition, at least when we talk about her as a pocket pick. Because sure, the dynamite seems like a great way of stopping tanks from just WM1ing into your faces, but when you think about what GOATS is capable of doing, that just kinda falls apart. GOATS usually includes a Lucio, which in itself can cause a lot of problems. You'd think you can just place your dynamite in front of the enemies to stop them, but then they just speed boost past it, and it's not like you can shoot it to detonate it early when a Reinhardt shield is blocking your shot. And for a Zarya, that dynamite ability just means free charge. Not to mention all the healing that Ana or Moira can provide to feed off the damage that it causes to the remaining tanks in that comp. comp. I just really don't see her being a pocket pick for that kind of situation, at least not in the most obvious sense that many lower ranked players would likely try to play her with. Now, if you build an entire composition around the idea of countering goats that includes Ashe, I am actually fairly confident that there are means and ways of making that happen. But I'll leave that one to the analysts and coaches to figure out since I didn't even get to play her yet. All in all, I think Ashe has the means of really shaking up the meta. As demonstrated in her reveal trailer, she has the tools to deal with Baguette, she can handle flankers, and overall seems like she has a pretty high skill ceiling. So if nothing else, I am very excited to finally get my hands on this new character. I just hope that she does not turn out to be too good at everything like Release Ana. The only thing that really bothers me about this is that Blizzard really seems to like the idea of trying to add more to fix more, which so far has always come with a lot of new problems. You're building your empire on a shoddy foundation, and the more you add on top of it, the more difficult it becomes to fix the underlying issues. There are a number of things I would love to see introduced before more heroes and maps are added, but it feels like that just takes more effort than pumping out new content. Because unlike balance patches, new content actually keeps the casual players happy as well. And I get that. Most of their target audience does not give a rat's ass about what is or isn't meta, and you need new content to keep their engagement as high as possible. But considering that they said balance and quality of life was their focus, I am very disappointed to see that rather than actually balancing and adding quality of life improvements, they just toss a new hero at the current problems at hand. That's not to say that there aren't more balance patches coming. There are. And that's not to say that new heroes are not cool and exciting, because they are. I just question whether or not that kind of approach causes more problems than it fixes, especially if you put so much money into your Overwatch League brand. It makes competitive players feel like whatever bullshit meta's out there, we just have to accept that for X months until a new hero comes around. And rather than fixing the issue and everyone being happy, they either end up being underwhelming, like Hammond, or cause new problems altogether. And as much as we have this massive celebration surrounding a new, mechanically demanding hero with a high skill ceiling, the fact that this is all there was to celebrate at BlizzCon is kind of disappointing. I mean, as someone who bought the All Access Pass, I can tell you, their entire What's Next panel for Overwatch literally just talked about how they ended up creating Ashe. And beyond that, all the panels are about the same thing, how they created Ashe, and an extra panel for the voice actors. I get that they work on this whole Overwatch World Cup viewer thing to give us in-game replays and all, but I can't help question their priorities. So I'ma end this video with a question to all of you guys. Ashe is a really cool looking hero, but is it enough? As always, my friends, feel free to leave all of your thoughts surrounding the subject in question down in the comment section below. But until then, thank you everybody so much for watching. Don't forget to drop me a like on your way out if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and I hope to see you all next time.